Hey, good almost afternoon here on the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. Hope you're doing well. We're late today. It's like you call in some places and they say, okay, your delay time is only 2 minutes. We'll call you when we're ready. Yeah, the delay time was more like a half hour. Plus, I had a bunch of morning meetings to go through, so kind of delayed the start today. But I wanted to share because we haven't shared much on the Metric Monday episode. And today I wanted to talk about a job interview quiz burndowns. I actually got interviewed one time streaming to LinkedIn. There's maybe an issue with LinkedIn. We'll keep trying. So apparently LinkedIn is broken, at least for streaming to LinkedIn. Gotta love them. Is it not connected? I don't know. So maybe I have to do this again with LinkedIn. I'll do it later, find out. But right now, LinkedIn is not working. Oh, well. Anyway, we're still on Facebook and YouTube. And then if it doesn't really work, I'll redo it later this afternoon to the LinkedIn account. But I think it only likes one LinkedIn thing at a time. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so from a job interview perspective, and I don't know how to fix it while I'm in this area. Oh, Lordy, is not working right. Anyway, the pleasure of live. Anyway, so we're going to do a job interview sample because I always see all these things about job interviews. What do I do? Questions you get for job interviews. People post all the time. So I figured I'd do a Metric Monday episode on Burndown Charts. We may have talked about this in the past, but I figure it doesn't hurt to go over it again since we get different views. Oh, by the way, we are now ranked as the number 4 podcast for agile coaches on FeedSpot, who ranks things. They update it every 6 months or so like that. So I want to say thank you all for all those who are out there listening to the podcast. And I'm going to do my best to do a verbal description of these burn down charts so that if you are listening to podcast version, you can see it. But in the link, usually, and when I do the podcast, I do put a link to the YouTube episode. So if you ever want to look at it, you can always look at stuff that I'm sharing on the screen too. So you can go back and look at that. All right. So this is the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. I am Greg Mester, Scrum Master and Agile Coach. And again, thank you very much for making us the number 4 podcast for Agile Coaching. Appreciate that very, very much. I was actually shocked and surprised we jumped all those spots. It's good to be ranked with all those other good podcasts out there. And we do this, we talk about Scrum and Agile, very practical and tactical. So you can bring value to the customer, not work crazy hours. You bring that value to the customer and have a little fun along the way. In this case, let's try to help you get a job if you have a question or you get an interview. Because like I said, I have been interviewed. And this was one of the questions like, interesting. They wanted to ask me if I could read a burn down chart. So let's kind of look at what it is. But I'm going to go a little deeper than, oh, yeah, they completed everything in the sprint. We're all great. I want to talk about why and where and some of the possibilities that could be influencing that burn down. And some people say they don't like burn down, but it contributes to things that you as an Agile coach or Scrum Master or team may want to look into to see why it's going on there. So, okay, with that, let's talk about it. So I got 4 little burn down charts up here. And if you haven't seen a burn down chart, a lot of episodes on that. But basically, on the vertical column, you have your issues or points or counts or whatever criteria you're measuring your work on. And the horizontal is time, usually the start of a sprint and the end of a sprint. Okay. So I got 4 in here, and I'm going to go through each one of the 4 during this episode. So first one, I have it where the start of the sprint starts out high and then it drops down really fast, pretty far, and then gradually comes down into the end. Okay. Now, whether or not this gradual stuff comes down to the end or stops early, I want to concentrate more on this beginning start. Now, some people could say, oh, great, I got a lot of stuff done. But what I want to say is that the reason why you can have a drop down, I'm going to write them on the board and then I'll share it with you as I talk to them. So there are a couple of reasons why you can have that burn down. One, carryover is the primary, could be carryover from the previous sprint. And it could be split into stories based on points. Some people play games where they say, let's say you had a 5-point story, you got everything done, but I don't know. I'm just getting error on my screen. Anyway, it's annoying. Sometimes StreamYard doesn't do things the way you want. Anyway, splitting of the stories from a point perspective of story from points. And then another thing could be just didn't get finished testing, right? That's like carryover stuff. There's some stuff, your definition of done issues, right? So on here, right on here, a little arrow, we're talking about right here at the top. So the quick drop could be a carryover. Why do I say carryover? There could be work that's in there, and that maybe relate to one of these other graphics we'll talk about there, or why things don't get all done in the sprint. Maybe they didn't do their testing. Maybe they didn't finish all their definition of done. I had a lot of places where I just need one more day of testing. The dev team handed it off. See, this is why it could be a lot of things. Dev team could have handed it off at the last minute. Testing didn't get finished, and they do all the testing the first or second day, and they complete the stories. So that could give you a thing where, are we giving ourselves enough time to get this stuff done? Are we holding, you get those discussions from our team, splitting on the story. Now, what also could be happening, in order for the team to get credit from the previous sprint, teams have a tendency to split stories. So maybe let's say it was a 5-point story, and they decide, oh, I got all my dev work done, or I got all this work done, so I'm going to give myself 3-point credit. And then the next sprint, I'm going to make another version of the story, the carryover part, and I'm going to give it a 2-point credit, right? So maybe that testing aspects became a 2-point story, but it's really the same story. So that goes to your definition done. So there could be a delay, carryover, work not making it, work in dev complete, but not testing. So again, you get this version where it starts off where you sprint plan and it drops down, and there's this dev, maybe development got complete but testing didn't, or they didn't test the software yet, or whatever product are, and so you get that view. So that's one of them. Let's go to another one. Let's go to this next one here. And in this one, look what's going on. So we did a sprint planning. So the sprint planning day is always a start, right? So that should always be sprint planning. So the first day is sprint planning day. So we're working along, going down. All of a sudden, all the stories went up. And then we're working along again, and they're working their way down. But then all of a sudden went up again. And now they're working them down. They're coming down. It went up again. And then we're coming down, and then maybe they didn't get all the work finished. So there's a couple things going on here that could be going on, right? One, the team really didn't do their due diligence on sizing and looking at the task or the story at hand on sprint planning day. I call it day. So maybe they didn't do enough refinement, or they didn't do enough planning on sprint play. Not enough sprint planning. So the reason why they get this bump up a couple days into it, they got their list of stories, but they didn't really go into the story and try to figure out how much work, and they go, oh my God, this is actually bigger than I planned. So sprint planning. So work is bigger. So work is bigger than planned. Okay. Now that could also have impact on all these other spikes. But now there's another one. Customer adds work to sprint. In this case, it would be the sprint. Now who can add this? Can it be the product owner? Yeah. Could be a person on the dev team. Yes, they could take stuff and add it to it without telling anybody and add it. But the other part is they're taking on more work, but not getting things done, right? Not finishing. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to do that when we do. I had a lot of questions like people are getting bored because they're not doing anything new. And part of the answer to that is because they're not finishing the current work. And it's not making room for them to do new stuff. So we'll talk about that. So this end part where the gap is at the last day of the sprint, and then there's a big gap between where they ended up and the day, and there's still work to be done. And it's a question not finishing. Problem is they could be adding more work in there and not getting other stuff done. There's a potential solution. Let's say you're in a very high volatile sprint company, whatever. What you should be doing, if you're adding work, you should be taking work away, right? It shouldn't do these massive spikes unless you really are getting stuff done and you're pretty much done and you want to add more stuff to it. But it shouldn't do that. What should happen is that people might want to have to remove stuff from the sprint, so you're not going over the commitment. So the agreement is, okay, you're going to add these 10 stories. What 10 stories come off the sprint, right? So you make that agreement that we only could do so many stories a sprint. We can't, if you're going to add 10 stories, then we got to take 10 stories away because we can't do both, right? So theoretically, you could do that. And that goes into this third one here. We're working our way down. We add some work, but then we pretty much get it all done. So this definitely is probably new work. So on this other one where we have a graph is just a simple, what's nice about it, they added new work, but they were able to burn down to the end of the sprint and get it done. So this little spike here is that somebody added new work to the sprint, or maybe they reviewed it like the previous one, but they're able to get everything done. So that's a good thing. Question is, when you're done with that, if you repeat this, and we're going to kind of talk about it in the next one, but if we repeat this same thing where we add some work to the sprint and we still burn it down, the question is, if you do that a couple sprints in a row, are you really committing to enough work? Are you really challenging yourself, right? So, question, are we challenging our velocity? So maybe we're underutilizing our team, right? So that might be a sign of, but you want to see if it happens on more than one sprint. You can't base all this stuff off of one burn down chart. In reality, you want to look at a couple burn down charts. Are they consistently doing the same thing? So maybe these are all samples, but am I getting 2 or 3 of these burn down charts? And then you have a pattern, right? So this last one here, so they're getting the work done. It's burning down great, right? And they get done really early. So in here's the end. There's the end date, but maybe they finish 3 or 4 days ahead of time. Maybe it's, let's say 3 days early. And you might say to yourself, well, that's great. The team's doing awesome, right? They got everything done that they planned for. Might go back to the challenging of the velocity. Are you taking enough data? So again, are we taking enough work? So are we taking in enough work? So that's a simple one. Are we taking enough work? Yeah. My other question would be, how is our definition of done? Right? Can we beef up our definition of done? Can we make it more stringent? Can we add more documentation, Are we cutting out stuff in our definition done and getting all this work done? Are we skipping documentation? Are we skipping integration tests? Are we skipping security testing? Are we skipping unit testing? Are we skipping syntax? Are we skipping reviews? Are we skipping stuff, right? So it could be, are we skipping? Are we skipping stuff? Need more. So like I said, I had a team that was getting work done, but then later on, I said, I know we're getting this stuff done, but sooner or later, the customer's going to want more documentation of what we're doing. So we actually had to increase the definition done. So really the curve then moved out because we had more stuff that we included in what our definition had done. And that's how we did it. So there's 4 of them. Just to give you a general. So the first one, start sprint planning, a lot of work got done. Is that a question of carryover, splitting stories? Maybe testing needs to be done. Looking at definition done. Another one where we worked for a while, but then it jumped up. So maybe we're not doing a good enough job during sprint planning to decide the complexity of the issues being planned or what we're doing. A couple spikes during the thing, customer adding stuff. But the problem is we didn't finish because we didn't take anything away. So it really shouldn't spike up. It should be the same. So even if it spikes up for a day, it should come back down because we removed, maybe we added 10 items and negotiate, okay, what 10 items do we want to remove? And it really should come back to the point of where we started off on. Then we have a little spike during the sprint, new work added. Are we challenging our velocity? So if we're still getting us done on time, new work got added. Question is, are we really challenging our velocity or our utilization for our team? And then the last one is the team gets it all done, but they got it done like 3 or 4 days early, right? So if they get it done early, one, again, are we doing our full utilization? 2, the definition done. Are we skipping stuff in our definition done to get it done? Because typically we would not be doing that. We would know what it is. Or do we need to beef up our definition? It's an opportunity if we're getting stuff done, but yet we're not doing like integration testing, security testing, unit testing, syntax, whatever testing or whatever documentation. We're kind of avoiding that. Maybe we should add that into a definition done before we start going, oh, let's take on more work. Let's make better work, higher quality work. So those are 4 burn down charts examples, and I know we're at the 17-minute mark, so I wanted to share that with you as potentials for questions that you might have in a job interview for Scrum, but also if you're a Scrum Master. It just shows different reasons, and again, look at more than one sprint's worth of burn down charts to get a trend or a pattern that's happening on that. So with that, I want to say have a great day. Sorry about the LinkedIn stuff not working. Sometimes it doesn't work. I have to go look at why. I mean, it was all set up and then it just like, oh, we're not connected to LinkedIn. So we'll see what we can do. Maybe I'll rebroadcast it later on. I usually do a rebroadcast on the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum corporate page and LinkedIn in the afternoon. So I'll see if I can't get that working, make sure it's up and running right. And again, thank you for making us the number 4 Agile Coaching podcast, according to FeedSpot. Appreciate it very much. Thumbs up. Share with your friends. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep looking at it. It'd be great. And then you want to join our newsletter, I'm going to give away some free stuff. Hopefully I'll get a newsletter out today for those who already subscribed and share some good stuff. With that, see you tomorrow. And tomorrow is how to 2-for-1 10x your career, your job, your company, whatever the team does. What can we do to help double our output without working extra hard? That's what Tuesday is about. And we'll see you tomorrow. So take care, everyone. Have a great day. Happy scrumming. See ya.